Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam: The Sands of Time. It's action and adventure in ancient Egypt in this terrific teen time travel romance. Get your copy of E-Steam: The Sands of Time at your favorite online bookseller today. Black bootlicks are presented to Black America as the so-called elite. And these elite blacks are oftentimes presented to us talking about how they've got these degrees from Ivy League universities and how they've gotten these high-level jobs in business and government. Now, we're told that these black bootlicks are supposed to be the smartest people in the room. Unfortunately, many of your black bootlicks are usually the dumbest people on earth. And they're the dumbest people on earth because, in spite of their college degrees and their prominent jobs, many of these black bootlicks actually thought they could win a game with white supremacy by playing along. Now, your black bootlick has one thing that they lack in spite of having all of that education, and that is critical thinking skills. Because many of your black bootlicks, they sit out here and believe that if they go along with the system of white supremacy and go out here and try to work within the system of white supremacy, they are going to be able to change the system of white supremacy. Now, this is a mistake that many of your black bootlicks make by thinking that they can win by playing along, not understanding the game was rigged from minute one, and you are never going to win a game with a white supremacist by playing along. Only a fool thinks they can go out here and play a rigged game and win, but that doesn't stop your black bootlick from going out here and taking out their quarters and putting it in the slot machine of white supremacy, gambling for a chance to win, not understanding that you never had a chance to win from minute one. Now, your critical thinkers, they understand that the game is rigged and the only way to win is not to play. But your black bootlick, like a gambler in Vegas, goes out here and puts their quarter in the machine, hoping to win as related to the game that they're playing with white supremacy. Now, your black bootlick, I liken them to a gambler in Vegas because oftentimes the gambler in Vegas thinks that they can go out here and beat the Vegas odds, and they think they can beat the Vegas odds because they think that they're smarter than the house owners of the casino. And the same principle applies for your black bootlick. Your black bootlick thinks that because he had an education inside of a white supremacist university, he thinks that he's going to be smarter than the white supremacist, and he thinks he's going to go out to a white supremacist institution and infiltrate it from the inside with the knowledge he got from the university, and he thinks he's going to go out here and play a game with white supremacy, not understanding that he is being watched by the same white supremacist he made a deal with. And like those Vegas security specialists, they're watching this black bootlick who they deliberately put in this place because they know that this black bootlick is basically somebody who they are going to go out here and be able to make money off of because they know how greedy your black bootlick is. Now, your black bootlick is like those naive gamblers or those guys who think that they're so smart. They think that they're going to come to the casino and go out here and win because they think they have a system. Many of your gamblers, they go to Vegas thinking, oh, I've got a system for counting cards, I've got a system for the probability of the slot machine, and I'm going to go out here and use this system to go out here and get myself rich, not understanding that the white supremacist already saw you coming, and he saw you coming almost 5 to 6 miles before. And he saw you coming off the bus from the airport, He saw you coming from the cab from the airport, and he already made plans and already made plans to find a way to get your money. But your white supremacist knows that the black bootleg isn't looking for financial money. No, he's looking for social currency, and that's the thing that he uses to appeal to the black bootleg in an effort to get him to spend all of his intangibles or her intangibles as related to their black manhood or their black womanhood. And as they are out here sacrificing their intangibles of manhood and womanhood, they are doing things to go out here and gain more social currency as they try to go out here and gamble to get more favor with the white supremacist. Now, the white supremacist already knows that this black bootlick is greedy, and because they know that the black bootlick is greedy, what they do is just like the Vegas gamblers and the Vegas casinos. What they do is make it where the black bootlick looks like he's or she is winning. So what they do in the beginning is go out here when they're in a college or a university or even in a high school, they start patting the black bootlick on the head. And because the black bootlick is getting attention from the white supremacist, the black bootlick thinks that your white supremacist is good, and they think that they can make changes to the system of white supremacy by being this good black. And this is covert contract that the black bootlick enters into, is where the black bootlick winds up really starting the path to falling into trouble, because that's when he starts playing the game with the white supremacist, looking to gain their favor. Because what the white supremacist will do is tell the black bootlick what he wants to hear, give him some little trinkets and crumbs, and because the black bootlick is getting the attention, he starts investing in the social currency, and because he's getting benefits and favors that others don't get, what he's thinking is that the system isn't so bad, so he starts investing in the system, thinking that he's on the road to winning, not understanding that this is what your house always does to your gamblers. What they do is they hook the gambler in by getting them to think that they're winning in the beginning, and once they win one or two games, they understand that this person's greed will kick in, and once their greed kicks in, what they do is know that, okay, this guy is now, once he starts winning, once he gets his job, once he gets his pats on the head, once he starts making some money, he starts to invest in the system. And as he's investing in the system of white supremacy, what happens to the black bootlick is that's when the white supremacist turns the table on the black bootlick, and that's when the black bootlick starts to see himself losing, because the white supremacist starts to pull his attention away. And as he's pulling his attention away, what happens is the bootlick then starts looking for ways to get more attention and approval from the white supremacist, and that's when the black bootlick starts going out here and looking to throw his own people under the bus. And when he does that, or she does that, what they're doing is starting to sacrifice their intangibles as related to their character. And as the bootlick starts to go out here and starts to sacrifice their intangibles of character and start making compromises, they're thinking that they are going out here and winning, but the whole thing is they can't really see what they're losing as they're making these sacrifices to try to win this rigged game. Because your black bootlick, he didn't understand that these white supremacists were watching him once he got off the plane in Vegas, and they basically knew what he was about ever since he walked into the hotel. So they had surveillance on him like Las Vegas security, and because they were multiple steps ahead of him, they already knew how they could already profit off him, and that's how the game was rigged from the beginning on the Black Bootlick. But the Black Bootlick is sitting there thinking, oh, I am smarter than everybody else. I'm better than everybody else. I can beat these guys at their own game, not understanding the game was rigged from minute one. And the minute he lost was the minute he decided to go out here and start playing. Because that's when most of your bootlicks wind up losing the game, is when they go out here and start playing a rigged game. Because when you play a rigged game, the outcome is always guaranteed for you to lose. And that's something that flies over the head of most of your black bootlicks. They're thinking that they have a chance of winning if they go along to get along. They're thinking that they have a chance of winning if they follow the rules. Many of them believe that, oh, they can change the system of white supremacy from within if they keep playing by the rules. But there is no playing by the rules with someone who never played by the rules. That's the critical thing that many of your black bootlicks don't understand. You cannot play a game to win with somebody who does not follow the rules of their own game and somebody who arbitrarily changes the rules of their own game. Because if somebody goes out here and creates a game and creates the rules, they know how everything runs from second one, and you're just sitting there thinking, oh, if I play this game and I go along to get along and I'll eventually win, but there is no way you can win when the person who created the game knows all of the structures of the game, knows all the rules of the game, and can arbitrarily change the rules of the game with technicalities to go out here and ensure that you either get a setback or that you lose. Because that's the big stupid thing about your black bootlick. They're sitting there thinking, if I play by the rules, I will win. But you cannot win a rigged game, especially when those who are rigging the game created the game in the first place. And that's why your black bootlicks are the dumbest people on earth, because they think they can go out here and actively win a rigged game. But what's even worse is, as they're actively thinking they can win a rigged game, they go out here and try to undermine those who don't want to play the game. Those in the black community who see that the game is rigged and know that the game is a losing game, these black bootlicks, they go out here and try to sabotage and destroy those who would go out here and try to walk away from the table. And what they try to do is try to shame those who walk away from the table by saying, oh, you're being a traitor, you're being you're not being right, you're not being what we want you to be, and if you don't fit this ideal, something is wrong with you. When something is actually wrong with the black bootlick, and what's wrong with the black bootlick is that they are investing in trying to play a game with a white supremacist on their terms, by their rules. And when you try to play a game with a white supremacist on their terms and play by their rules, you are guaranteed to lose. Yes, they will let you win a few little trinkets here and there and give you a little bit of attention for a moment, but at the end of the day, they are going to want to get back what they want, and that's how the house always wins. And as they're getting back what they had from you, they are taking even more, because that's how It works with gamblers. Yes, they'll let you get a few dollars in the beginning, and they may even let you get a couple of $1,000 here or there, but that's all to stroke your ego and get you gassed up. And then once they get you gassed up and get your ego stroked, that's when they change the game on you, and that's when they start making it where you lose. And then as you're invested into the game, you start losing, your emotions overtake you, and as your emotions overtake you, what happens is that's when you start making all sorts of erratic decisions, going out here making all sorts of sacrifices, like going out here and cleaning out your bank account, hoping you'll be able to win, but you're never going to be able to win because you've already invested too much emotionally into the system, and that's what happens to your black bootleg. They start investing emotionally into the system of white supremacy, and as they start investing emotionally into that system, that's when they really start losing, because once they get emotionally invested, that's when the white supremacist starts to cut their connection off to the black bootleg. And they cut that connection off because at that point they know they have power over the black bootleg, and with that power they can go out here and control the black bootleg. Now your black bootleg at this point has gone from being the interdependent person they thought they were going to be by being inside the system and beating it, to becoming another codependent stooge who is out here to do the dirty work. And they're doing the dirty work because at this point they have no dignity, they have no self-esteem, and they have no self-worth. And that's all because they have been playing the rigged game. They are in debt to the system of white supremacy. And as they are in debt, they're looking for a way to get out of the debt that they're in, not understanding that the reason why you are in debt is basically because you invested in a rigged game, not understanding that the rigged game was always going to end up with you losing. And your black bootleg, what they lose at the end of the game is not only their dignity and their self-respect and their self-worth, but they also lose the support of those critical thinking foundational black Americans who see them for the traitors that they are. And they're traitors because these bootlicks went out here and made compromises with this system, thinking they could beat this system within. With their arrogance, they thought, oh, I'm going to be smarter than the white supremacists. They thought they could beat the white supremacists at their own game, but the only way to beat the white supremacist is to not play at all. And this is something many of your black bootlicks just don't understand. The only way to beat white supremacy at their own game is just not to play at all. The only thing that allows you to win against a white supremacist is by not buying into their ideas or buying into their system of oppression, because the more you buy into the system, the more you invest in the system. And once they get you invested into the system, especially if they can get you invested in emotionally, you are on the road to losing. The only way, again, to win against white supremacy is to not play their games and to call the white supremacists to the carpet and hold them accountable for the way they are mistreating foundational black Americans. Because once a large group of foundational black Americans call the white supremacists to the carpet and hold them accountable, that is how you get a standard of justice for foundational black Americans. You're not going to get any sort of system of justice as long as you go along and play the game, because you cannot play a game that was created by someone where they guarantee that they're going to win every time. Because since they have created the game, they know all the rules and they know how to create loopholes and technicalities to keep you from winning. So that's why your black bootlick is the dumbest person in the room, because the black bootlick, in spite of getting their education and making all of this money, can't really see how they are basically a pawn on the chessboard, and they're a pawn on the chessboard that the white supremacist already knows how they're going to deal with just as soon as they get them off the plane and as they're driving on the bus or taking the taxi from the airport to the hotel. They already know how they're going to get a victory over the black bootlick, because they know that the black bootlick is so in their feelings about trying to be accepted that they're thinking that they have an actual shot at winning. But there's no way that they are going to win this game in life, and sadly, many of your black bootlicks wind up finding out that the game was rigged when it's too little too late. But by that time, many of the black bootlicks are on a road to being broken by white supremacy, because after they've played with their toys for the little time that they've had, and they've gotten all the pleasure of seeing these bootlicks become laughing stocks in the punchline of their joke, that's when they realize that they've had their fun with the bootlick and they break the bootlick. Now, your bootlick doesn't understand that they are actually the punchline of a cruel joke, and that joke is saying that the black bootlick thought he actually could have some success in white supremacy, because the white supremacist, he wants to sit there and get a laugh for himself as related to the bootlick, and the bootlick doesn't understand, because he doesn't understand comedy. He doesn't understand how he's being set up for a gag where he's the punchline that everybody laughs at. Your bootlick thinks that because they're being praised early on and being given all of these accolades and all of these amenities, that they actually have a chance of success, but there was never a chance of success inside of that whole system of white supremacy. It was all about setting the bootlick up for the failure so that they could become the punchline of that cruel joke. And many of your bootlicks never really find out about this until it's too late, and by that time they have wasted all of their time as related to their life, and they've lost all their credibility in the black community. So by the time they become the laughingstock of the white supremacists, they wind up looking for help and wind up being told to hold their own nuts. And as they're told to hold their own nuts, they're sitting there feeling the humiliation of being laughed at. And as they're feeling that humiliation, they realize that they were the punchline of a cruel joke, and that cruel joke was basically them going out here and thinking that they had an actual shot at winning a rigged game, but there was never a shot of them winning that rigged game. And the biggest mistake the black bootlick made was buying into the white supremacists' quest for getting their validation and their approval, seeking out a pat on the head and a hug. And as they sought out that pat on a head and a hug, they started emotionally investing into the game of white supremacy, a game that was rigged from minute one. And as that rigged game was out here, he was going to lose. And the sad part is, your black bootlick was the biggest fool, because he thought he could play a rigged game and win. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Hayes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books on Smashwares, the iBook store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, All That Glitters, the goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, All That Glitters, in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.